Welcome to Starbound. My name is Chikondi and I'll be your narrator today. But before we get into today's story, please quickly check below to see if you've subscribed to the channel. It's 100% free, and it just helps make sure that our videos pop up in your feed more often. Cold bit into Eliza's exposed face as she trudged through knee-deep snow, the whine of her sample collection drone nearly drowned out by the howling Alaskan wind. Dr. Eliza Reichert, senior astrobiologist at the Fairbanks Research Station, had spent 6 years searching for extremophile bacteria in Earth's harshest environments. Today's expedition was supposed to be routine. Collect ice core samples from the newly exposed permafrost and be back before nightfall.
Base, this is Reichert. I'm at collection point Charlie 9, beginning sample extraction.
She reported into her comm unit. The response came back garbled through the snow.
Copy, Reichert. Weather's deteriorating. Suggest you return.
Eliza sighed. She'd come too far to turn back now.
Just 30 minutes, Base. I didn't trudge through all this for nothing.
She was about to activate the drilling sequence when something metallic glinted through the swirling snow about 50 meters away. Something that shouldn't be there.
Base, I'm seeing an unidentified object, metal, approximately 3 meters in diameter, possibly crashed satellite?
She adjusted her augmented reality goggles for better visibility.
I'm going to investigate.
Negative, Reich. Immediate return. Dangerous.
But curiosity had always been Eliza's downfall. She approached cautiously, her scientific mind already cataloging observations. The object was unlike any satellite she'd ever seen. Smooth, iridescent, with no visible seams or components. It resembled a perfect disk half buried in snow, and it was humming?
What the hell?
She muttered, reaching out with a gloved hand. The moment her fingers brushed the surface, a seam appeared where none had existed before. The object's exterior rippled like liquid mercury. The world vanished in a flash of blue light. Eliza awoke to the sensation of floating. Her eyes opened to a sterile, pale blue environment without visible walls or ceiling. Her body was suspended in midair by an invisible force, arms and legs gently restrained.
Hello?
Her voice sounded muffled, as if the air was thicker than it should be.
Is anyone there?
A melodic chime answered her, followed by what seemed like a rush of voices speaking simultaneously in an unknown language. It reminded her of the universal translator apps back home struggling to find the right connection between languages. Her vision suddenly filled with symbols, glowing holographic characters that shifted and changed as if alive. They surrounded her, pulsing with a gentle light.
I don't understand,
she said, trying to remain calm despite the rising panic in her chest. The symbols coalesced into a translucent screen that hovered before her eyes. On it, an image formed, Earth, viewed from space. Then her own face appeared, followed by a complex genetic sequence that Eliza recognized as human DNA.
Yes, that's me, human. From Earth.
She pointed at herself with her chin, the only part of her body she could move freely. The symbols scattered like startled birds, and the invisible restraints suddenly tightened. Alarms began to wail, not the mechanical alarms of Earth technology, but organic-sounding pulses that seemed to come from everywhere at once. Through a previously invisible portion of wall that turned transparent, Eliza saw movement. Tall, slender figures in flowing garments rushed past, their voices raised in what could only be panic. She caught glimpses of them, humanoid but unmistakably alien, with elongated limbs and skin that shifted colors like cephalopods. One of them stopped and turned towards her. Its face had no nose, just slits where a human's nostrils would be, and large almond-shaped eyes that blinked horizontally rather than vertically. When it saw her looking back, its skin paled to an almost translucent white. It spoke something that sounded like glass wind chimes in a hurricane, then fled. The restraints around Eliza tightened further as the entire room pulsed red.
What did I get myself into?
3 solar cycles passed before anyone approached Eliza directly. She'd been moved from the floating containment field to a more conventional, though still alien, cell with a bed-like platform, a facility that recycled her waste into food, which she'd been reluctant to use until hunger made her choice for her, and a transparent wall through which she could see a laboratory filled with the alien beings. They studied her constantly, scanning her with beams of light and devices that hummed at different frequencies. But none entered her cell or attempted communication beyond simple pictograms displayed on the transparent wall. Eat, sleep, stand, sit. On what she calculated was the fourth day, the wall shimmered and became permeable. A small alien entered, wearing what appeared to be an environmental suit covering its entire body. It spoke, and to Eliza's surprise, she understood. "You comprehend this vocalization pattern?" The voice was synthesized, neutral.
Yes, I understand you. Eliza sat up straight, her heart pounding with excitement and relief. Who are you? Where am I? Why have you taken me?
The alien took a step back, the suit's exterior rippling with blues and purples. "Caution, your cortisol levels are elevating. Please maintain homeostasis."
I'm just excited to finally talk to someone,
Eliza explained, forcing herself to breathe slower.
It's been days.
Incorrect. It has been 76 microcycles, approximately 3.2 of your Earth rotations. The alien suit stabilized to a steady lavender. "I am Designate Vexlor, Xenobiological Assessment Specialist, 3rd rank. You are aboard the Zaxari research vessel, Infinite Inquiry."
I'm Dr. Eliza Reichart, astrobiologist from Earth. Why have you abducted me?
The alien, Vexlor, tilted its head in what seemed like confusion. "Abduction not intentional. You activated an automated scout ship's emergency retrieval protocol. A most unfortunate accident."
Then send me back,
Eliza suggested reasonably. "Impossible at present. Your presence has triggered quarantine protocols. The entire ship is locked down." Eliza blinked.
Because of me? I guess it would make sense to be careful about pathogens.
Vexlor's suit rippled with dark greens and blues. "Not biological quarantine. Security quarantine. You are Terran."
Yes, and?
Terrans are classified as extreme hazard xenoforms. Contact protocols require specialized containment and Supreme Council notification. Vexlor paused. "I am not supposed to be here. My curiosity exceeded appropriate parameters." Eliza laughed, a short burst of confusion and disbelief.
That's ridiculous. I'm a scientist just like you, I think. I'm not a threat.
"Your classification is not based on profession or intent," Vexlor explained, moving cautiously closer. "It is based on empirical observation of your species over 1,200 orbital cycles."
12? You've been watching us for 1,200 years?
The Zaxari Collective has maintained observation of Sol 3, Earth, since before your medieval period. Yes, we have extensive records. Eliza's mind raced with implications.
But why classify us as dangerous? We've barely left our own solar system.
Vexlor's suit displayed a rapid sequence of colors. "That is not a simple question. I have accessed restricted archives because of my fascination. Your species demonstrates capabilities that concern the Collective's predictive systems."
What capabilities?
"You persist where you should not. You survive what should kill you. Your cognitive patterns." Vexlor's voice modulator emitted a sound like breaking crystal. "Irregular, unpredictable, fascinating." Before Eliza could probe further, alarms sounded throughout the facility, different from the ones she'd heard when she first arrived. These were deeper, more urgent. Vexlor's suit flashed crimson. "I must go. This is not—" The ship lurched violently, throwing both of them against the wall. The lights flickered, and Eliza heard what could only be described as the sound of tearing metal.
What's happening?
She asked, pulling herself to her feet. Vexlor struggled to stand, the suit now pulsing with jagged patterns of red and black. "Attack," Impossible. We are in designated neutral space. Unless...
The alien turned to Eliza, the faceplate of its suit suddenly transparent enough for her to see its features contort into what looked like terror.
They know you are here.
Who knows?
The Mrakari Dominion, our ancient enemy.
Vexlor staggered to the wall and pressed a sequence on a previously invisible panel.
The containment protocols are failing. You must not leave this room.
Another violent shudder ran through the ship. The lights failed completely, replaced seconds later by a dim, pulsing blue emergency illumination. Vexlor was thrown across the room, colliding with Eliza. She caught the alien, steadying them both. Are you hurt? Vexlor pulled away as if burned.
You should not be able to hold my mass so easily. Your muscle density...
I'm barely holding you up, Eliza said, but another explosion cut off any further conversation. The transparent wall of her cell shattered into a million glittering fragments. Vexlor's suit sealed completely, the faceplate going opaque.
The atmospheric integrity is compromised. You will die without protection.
But Eliza was already taking a cautious breath.
The air seems fine to me. A bit metallic, maybe.
Impossible. The ship's atmosphere contains elements toxic to most carbon-based life.
Well, I'm breathing it,
Eliza said, then coughed slightly.
It's not great, but it's not killing me. Not yet, anyway.
Vexlor's suit displayed a pattern Eliza hadn't seen before. Concentric circles of blue and white.
Confirmation of observation file 1126T. Terran respiratory system demonstrates extreme adaptation capability.
Another explosion rocked the ship, closer this time. The floor beneath them groaned.
We need to move,
Eliza said decisively.
Those explosions are getting closer.
Where would you go? You know nothing of this vessel.
I don't know. Away from the explosion seems like a good start.
Vexlor hesitated, then reached into a compartment in the suit and removed a small disc-shaped object.
This is offensive-defensive utility device. It can create a portable barrier. It will provide limited protection against energy weapons.
Eliza took it, examining the smooth metallic surface.
How do I activate it?
Press it against your palm and think of a shield.
Huh?
It is neurosynchronous technology. It reads basic thought patterns. Think of a barrier between yourself and danger. It should work for you. I hope.
Eliza did as instructed, pressing the disc to her palm. To her surprise, it adhered to her skin and began to glow with a soft blue light.
Follow me,
Vexlor said, leading her through the shattered wall into a corridor beyond.
We must reach the auxiliary command center. Primary command will be the Mrakari's first target.
They moved through corridors that seemed to be made of living material. The walls pulsed and shifted as they passed, opening new pathways and sealing others. Vexlor navigated with confidence despite the chaos around them.
Why would these Mrakari attack just because I'm here?
Eliza asked as they ran.
The Mrakari have attempted to breach Sol's quarantine barrier for centuries, Vexlor explained, not slowing down. They believe Terrans would make formidable biological weapons. A human already off-world, already contained in a controlled environment, irresistible opportunity.
They rounded a corner and came face to face with three figures that were definitely not Zexari. Where the Zexari were slender and graceful, these creatures were broad and angular, with exoskeletons that gleamed like burnished copper. Their three-fingered hands held weapons that hummed with barely contained energy. Vexlor froze.
Mrakari boarding party.
The lead Mrakari pointed its weapon at them and spoke in a clicking, mechanical voice.
Surrender the Terran specimen.
Eliza felt the disc in her palm grow warm. Almost instinctively, she raised her hand and thought at the approaching aliens. A shimmering blue barrier sprang into existence between them. The lead Mrakari fired its weapon. Energy splashed against the barrier, which flickered but held.
Run!
Vexlor shouted, pulling Eliza down a side corridor.
The barrier will not hold against sustained fire.
They sprinted through increasingly damaged sections of the ship. In some areas, the walls were torn open to reveal space beyond, held at bay only by flickering energy fields. Bodies of Zexari crew members floated in corridors where gravity had failed.
How many Zexari are on this ship?
Eliza asked as they paused at an intersection.
4,622,
Vexlor replied precisely.
but the Mrakari would not have come without overwhelming force.
A nearby panel exploded in a shower of sparks, and the lights in their section failed completely. In the darkness, Eliza could hear Vexlor's breathing become rapid and shallow within the suit.
I cannot see,
the alien said, voice tight with fear.
I can,
Eliza replied. She could make out shapes in the near-total darkness.
Take my hand.
No, the suit!
We don't have time for this.
Eliza grabbed what she hoped was Vexlor's arm.
Left corridor, come on.
She led them through the darkness, navigating by the faint emergency strips along the floor and her own effective night vision. They descended through what seemed like maintenance shafts, avoiding the main corridors where sounds of fighting echoed.
How are you navigating?
Vexlor asked after several minutes of silent movement.
There is insufficient light for optical function.
Human eyes adapt to darkness,
Eliza explained.
Not perfectly, but enough to see shapes and movement.
Another confirmation. Observation file 2347T. Terran visual systems maintain function in low-light conditions that render most species effectively blind.
They emerged into a larger chamber, filled with what Eliza could only describe as liquid computers, flowing luminescent substances that formed and reformed into complex patterns. The room was occupied by a dozen or so Zexari, all of whom turned to stare as they entered. One stepped forward, taller than the others, its skin a deep, steady blue. It spoke in the chiming language Eliza had heard earlier. Vexlor responded, gestures becoming increasingly agitated. Finally, the tall Zexari turned to Eliza.
Terran,
it said in the same synthesized voice Vexlor used.
I am Ship Commander Nylethra. Your presence has brought catastrophe upon us.
I didn't ask to be brought here,
Eliza countered, trying to keep her voice level despite her rising anger.
Your scout ship took me.
A regrettable error that may cost thousands of lives.
The commander's skin rippled with dark patterns.
The Mrakari Emperor himself has authorized this attack. They have one objective: capture you.
Why? What could they possibly want with me?
We do not know fully. We only know that they would not act so foolishly with nothing to gain.
A violent tremor shook the room, and several of the liquid computer nodes darkened.
We cannot withstand their assault much longer, Nylethra said. The Mrakari sacrificed dozens of scout ships as distractions while their elite forces boarded. Our only option is to self-destruct the vessel.
With everyone still on board?
Eliza asked, horrified.
We carry technologies too dangerous to fall into Mrakari hands. And you.
The commander's gaze fixed on Eliza.
You are the most dangerous of all.
Vexlor stepped forward.
Commander, the Terran helped me navigate sections where systems had failed. She can see in darkness, breathe our atmosphere without protection. All the more reason she cannot be captured, Nylethra interrupted. The self-destruct sequence is our only option.
Eliza's mind raced.
What if there was another way? What if we could drive them off?
Our weapons are offline. Our crew is scattered. What do you propose, Terran?
Take me to your weapons control. I have an idea.
The weapons control center was in shambles when they arrived. Bodies of Zexari technicians floated in zero gravity, their color-shifting skin now permanently gray. The control interfaces, more of the liquid computing technology, were dark and unresponsive.
As I said, our weapons are offline, Nylethra stated. The Mrakari targeted them first.
Eliza examined the alien technology, noting similarities to the barrier disk still attached to her palm.
These are neurosynchronous interfaces too, aren't they? They respond to thought patterns?
Yes, but they are calibrated for Zexari neural architecture. Your patterns would be incompatible.
Maybe not,
Vexlor interjected. The barrier generator responded to her thoughts. The technology is adaptive, and so is the human.
Too adaptive, Nelethra said darkly. Giving a Terran access to our weapon systems is unthinkable.
Another explosion rocked the ship, throwing them against the walls. The gravity failed completely, and they all began to float.
We're out of options,
Eliza insisted.
Let me try.
After a moment of visible internal struggle, Nelethra gestured to one of the dark, fluid-like control nodes.
Place your hands within the interface. Think of the ship's defensive systems. If you are compatible at all, it will respond.
Eliza pushed herself through the zero-gravity environment to the node. It resembled a pool of mercury suspended in midair, unaffected by the lack of gravity. She hesitated, then plunged her hands into the liquid. Cold fire shot up her arms, her vision filled with intricate patterns of light and color, a three-dimensional representation of the ship, its systems, its damage. She could feel the Mercari vessels surrounding them, the boarding parties moving through the corridors, the failing life support systems.
I can see everything,
she whispered.
The whole ship. It's like I'm connected to it.
Impossible,
she heard Nelethra say, as if from a great distance.
No non-Zexari has ever successfully interfaced with our systems.
Eliza couldn't focus on the commander's disbelief. She was too busy exploring the ship's capabilities with her mind. The weapons were indeed offline, physically damaged beyond repair, but the ship had other systems, other ways to fight back.
The atmospheric regulators, she said. I can redirect the coolant from the drive system into the habitable sections. The temperature would drop to nearly absolute zero in seconds.
The Zexari can survive brief exposure to such temperatures, Vexlor said. The Mercari cannot.
Neither can I,
Eliza pointed out.
We have thermal protection suits,
Nelethra said, voice tight with what might have been hope.
For emergency repairs to the outer hull.
Eliza nodded, still connected to the ship's systems.
I need a suit, and I need you to evacuate any surviving Zexari from the affected sections.
It will take time we do not have,
Nelethra objected.
Then we'll have to be strategic.
Through the interface, Eliza could see the Mercari movement patterns.
They're concentrating their forces near the primary command center and the main engineering section. If we freeze those areas first, we can cut off their leadership while evacuating our people from the other sections.
Our people. She didn't even realize she'd said it, but the Zexari noticed. Nelethra's skin shifted to a deep purple, a color Eliza somehow knew indicated surprise.
Begin the evacuation,
the commander ordered.
Get the Terran a thermal suit.
As the Zexari rushed to comply, Vexlor floated closer to Eliza.
How are you doing this? The interface should not function for you at all.
Eliza couldn't lift her hands from the liquid metal without breaking the connection.
I don't know. It's like it's adapting to me as much as I'm adapting to it, learning from each other.
The very thing the collective fears most about your kind,
Vexlor said softly.
What?
Nothing. Focus on the task at hand.
A thermal suit was brought, a sleek silver garment that seemed too small until it was wrapped around her. The material expanded and contracted, forming a perfect seal against her skin.
Evacuation of critical personnel is at 60%,
a Zexari technician reported.
Mercari forces are converging on this location. They must have detected unusual energy patterns from the interface activation. We are out of time,
Nelethra decided.
Terran, activate the coolant redirect.
Through the ship's sensors, Eliza could see the Mercari boarding parties, dozens of the copper-skinned warriors moving with military precision through the corridors, guided by floating orbs that must be the research drones Nelethra mentioned. She focused her thoughts on the atmospheric systems, redirecting the supercooled coolant from the drive systems into the ventilation network. The ship's computer fought her at first, recognizing the command as potentially lethal to the crew. But as Vexlor had said, the technology was adaptive. It read her intentions, understood the strategic necessity, and complied.
Coolant redirecting, she announced. 10 seconds to temperature drop in targeted sections.
The Zexari in the room activated their own thermal protection, their suits shimmering into existence from devices on their belts. The ship's internal sensors showed the temperature in the targeted sections plummeting. The Mercari in those areas began to move erratically, then collapse. Their exoskeletons, evolved for the heat of their homeworld, became brittle in the extreme cold. But not all of them fell. A group of 5, wearing what must be their own version of thermal protection, continued toward the weapons control center.
"We have incoming,"
Eliza warned, her mind still connected to the ship's systems.
5 Mercari, thermally protected, approaching from the east corridor.
"How can you know this?"
Nelethra demanded. "Our sensors in that section are offline."
"I can feel them,"
Eliza replied, unable to explain the sensation better.
"Through the ship, like vibrations in the structure."
The doors to the control center burst open. 5 Mercari warriors stormed in, weapons raised. Eliza pulled her hands from the interface, breaking the connection to the ship. The sensation was like being plunged into darkness after hours in bright sunlight, disorienting, limiting. But she pushed off from the console, firing off an unexpected sonic charge through her disc tool as she sailed through the air. The lead Mercari dropped, its nervous system overloaded by the sonic pulse. The others returned fire, energy weapons scorching the walls where Eliza had been a second before. The Zexari were not fighters by nature. They moved defensively, using their own weapons with precision but little tactical awareness. 2 fell in the first exchange of fire. Eliza didn't think. She acted on pure instinct, using the zero gravity to her advantage. She bounced from wall to ceiling to floor, firing the sonic weapon with each pass. A 3rd Mercari fell, then a 4th. The 5th, clearly the leader, discarded its energy weapon and drew what looked like a ceremonial blade. It launched itself at Eliza with terrifying speed. She couldn't dodge in time. The blade slashed across her thermal suit, cutting through the material to the skin beneath. Pain flared, hot and sharp, but Eliza grabbed the Mercari's arm, using its own momentum to flip them both. They tumbled through the zero-G environment. The Mercari was stronger, but Eliza was fighting for her life. She slammed her forehead into what she hoped was a vulnerable point on the alien's exoskeleton. It made a cracking sound, and the Mercari's grip loosened. Eliza twisted free, blood bleeding in globules from her wound and floating in the microgravity. She brought the sonic weapon up and fired point blank at the Mercari's head. It convulsed once, then went still. In the sudden silence that followed, she became aware of the Zexari staring at her. Even through their thermal suits, she could see their skin shifting through patterns of blue and white, the same concentric circles Vexlor had displayed earlier.
"What?"
she asked, breathing hard.
"What is it?"
"You,"
Vexlor seemed unable to find words.
"You fought them, hand to hand. No Zexari would have survived such an encounter." "The cold is spreading through all sections now,"
Nelethra reported, turning to a still-functioning console.
"The Mercari forces are retreating to their ships."
Relief flooded through Eliza, making her suddenly aware of how much her side hurt where the blade had cut her. The thermal suit was attempting to seal itself, constricting around the wound to stop the bleeding.
"We need to get you to medical,"
Vexlor said, moving toward her.
"I'm fine,"
Eliza insisted, though the room had begun to spin slightly.
"'Tis but a scratch," she chuckled.
"You are leaking fluids at an alarming rate,"
the alien countered, humorless and examining the wound without touching it.
"And your skin temperature is dropping. The suit's breach is letting in the cold."
As if to punctuate this statement, Eliza suddenly shivered violently. The adrenaline was wearing off, and shock was setting in.
"Medical bay, good idea,"
she agreed, suddenly too tired to argue. 3 days later, Eliza stood in what Vexlor had called the contemplation chamber, a vast circular room with transparent walls that looked out into space. The Zexari ship had limped to a friendly outpost for repairs, the Mercari threat temporarily neutralized.
Her wound had healed with astonishing speed, thanks to Zexari medical technology that made Earth's most advanced treatments look primitive by comparison. She'd learned more about the Zexari in these few days than she had in the chaotic period after her abduction, their history, their culture, their fears. The door behind her opened with a soft musical tone. Nylethra entered, accompanied by a holographic projection of a much older Zexari whose skin was a permanent deep gold instead of the shifting colors of the others.
Dr. Reichert, Nylethra said formally, Grand Archon Zalther of the Zexari Collective wishes to speak with you.
The hologram bowed slightly.
Terran, your actions saved my people's most advanced research vessel and its crew. The Collective is grateful.
I did what anyone would do,
Eliza replied.
I just wanted to survive.
That, said the Grand Archon, is precisely what fascinates us about your kind. You just want to survive, and in that simple desire, you accomplish the impossible. You synchronized with our most advanced neural interfaces, technology specifically designed to reject non-Zaxari thought patterns. You defeated 5 Mercari warriors in hand-to-hand combat. You persevered under impossible odds.
The hologram's golden color deepened.
Together, they confirm what our observation of Earth has long suggested. Humans are uniquely adaptable in ways that defy our predictive models.
Eliza turned to look out at the stars.
Is that why you've quarantined Earth? Because we're unpredictable?
Yes.
The Grand Archon's hologram moved to stand beside her.
Our predictive systems can model the behavior of any known species with 99.9% accuracy. With humans, that accuracy drops to less than 40%.
Because we're irrational?
Because you are creative in ways we cannot anticipate. You blend logical reasoning and instinctual response in patterns that seem contradictory to us. You make intuitive leaps that bypass established pathways of thought.
Eliza considered this.
And that, what, scares you?
It terrifies us,
the Grand Archon admitted with surprising frankness.
The galaxy has enjoyed millennia of relative stability. Species develop, evolve, join the greater community when they reach certain technological benchmarks. They follow predictable patterns. Humans do not.
So you decided to just wall us off? Keep us in the dark about the rest of the universe?
Until you matured as a species, yes. It was considered the safest approach.
For whom?
For everyone.
The hologram sighed, a surprisingly human gesture.
But that approach is no longer viable. Your development has accelerated beyond our projections. Your technology advances in unexpected directions. And now, with the Mercari even more aware of your capabilities, the quarantine has been utterly compromised.
Nylethra stepped forward.
The Grand Archon has a proposal.
I'm listening,
Eliza said cautiously.
Return to Earth as our intermediary,
the golden hologram said.
Help prepare your people for formal contact. It will happen sooner than we had planned, but perhaps that is for the best.
You want me to be your ambassador?
In secret, initially. We will provide you with technology, communication devices, knowledge databases, medical advancements that will benefit your people. In return, you will help us understand humanity better. Prepare for the day when our civilizations officially meet.
Eliza's mind reeled with possibilities.
And the alternative?
We return you to Earth with no technology, no knowledge of our existence. The quarantine continues until circumstances force our hand, which they inevitably will. The Mercari will not stop their efforts to acquire human specimens now that they have confirmed your capabilities.
Eliza turned back to the stars, thinking of Earth, so small, so isolated, yet home to a species that had unknowingly terrified the most advanced civilization in the galaxy.
"I'll do it,"
she said finally.
"I'll be your intermediary, but I have conditions."
Name them,
the Grand Archon replied.
"Complete honesty. No more secrets about why you've been watching us or what you've observed. I want access to all your records on Earth."
The Grand Archon's hologram flickered slightly.
That is a significant request.
"It's non-negotiable. If I'm going to help bridge our cultures, I need to understand exactly how you see us."
After a long moment, the hologram nodded.
Acceptable. What else?
"Medical technology. Not just for me, for Earth. Cures for our most devastating diseases. Consider it a gesture of good faith."
This could significantly alter your development trajectory,
the Grand Archon cautioned.
"That's the point,"
Eliza countered.
"You said it yourself. The quarantine is failing. Better we adapt on our terms than be caught with our pants down."
I would prefer your pants remain as they are. Very well. We can provide treatments for your most prevalent conditions.
"And one more thing. I want Vexlor assigned as my liaison, someone who's curious about us, not just afraid."
The Grand Archon actually smiled, a strange expression on the alien face, but unmistakable.
Specialist Vexlor has already volunteered.
1 month later, the perimeter alarm at Fairbanks Research Station blared as motion sensors detected movement at the edge of the compound. Security personnel rushed to the fence line, weapons drawn, their flashlights cutting through the dim Arctic twilight. Dr. Eliza Reichart was walking calmly toward the station, dressed in the same expedition gear she'd worn when she disappeared, though it looked oddly pristine for someone who'd been missing for weeks. She looked different, healthier somehow. The scar from her wilderness accident months ago was completely gone. Her movements were more confident, more fluid. But it was undeniably Eliza, their colleague who had vanished without a trace during a routine collection expedition 4 weeks ago. Presumed dead after an extensive search and rescue operation had turned up nothing.
"Hold your fire!"
shouted Dr. Deed Morrow, the station director, as he pushed past the security team.
"Eliza, my word, where have you been? We thought you were dead."
Eliza smiled a strange, knowing smile that sent an involuntary shiver down Morrow's spine. There was something different in her eyes, something that hadn't been there before.
"Yeah, about that,"
she said, her voice steady despite the frigid temperature. She touched what appeared to be a small device behind her ear.
"Vexlor, I'm really sorry about this."
To the astonishment of everyone present, a voice seemed to emanate from thin air beside her.
"It's all right. I never expected you to follow the agreed protocol anyway."
The security teams raised their weapons again, looking frantically for the source of the voice.
"I know what we agreed,"
Eliza replied calmly, apparently speaking to empty space.
"But this is too big to keep secret. Earth deserves to know the truth, all of it. Better to ask forgiveness than permission."
She turned back to her stunned colleagues.
"The voice you hear belongs to a being identifying themselves as Vexlor, Xenobiological Assessment Specialist 3rd rank of the Zexari Collective. They're about 5,000 miles above us right now, in a cloaked ship, and in my pocket is a data crystal containing cures for 17 of Earth's deadliest diseases. In my head is the knowledge that humanity has been quarantined and observed by advanced alien civilizations for over 1,000 years because they're absolutely terrified of us."
"Terrified? Of us?"
Dr. Morrow echoed in disbelief.
"Yeah,"
Eliza grinned.
"Turns out we're basically space orcs."
The following 6 months unfolded at a pace that even Eliza found dizzying. After the initial shock, and the inevitable global panic when the news broke,
humanity adapted to the revelation of extraterrestrial life with surprising resilience. The United Nations established a Department of Interstellar Relations with Eliza as its director. Vexlor, apprehensive as he was by her unilateral decision to reveal the truth, gradually came to see the wisdom in it. The Mercari's knowledge of humanity's existence had already compromised the quarantine. A humanity suddenly aware of its galactic context could better defend itself against potential threats. The Grand Archon, after an initial period of what Vexlor described as chromatic outrage, eventually conceded that humans had once again acted in their unpredictable fashion, and perhaps this unpredictability was precisely what made them valuable allies rather than merely subjects to be studied. Zaxari medical technology revolutionized Earth's healthcare systems. Cancer, Alzheimer's, and dozens of previously incurable conditions became manageable or entirely treatable. The data crystal Eliza had brought back was just the beginning. Earth's scientists worked feverishly to understand the principles behind Zaxari technology, making intuitive leaps that sometimes startled even their alien counterparts. Humans went beyond simple adoption. They adapted them, improved them, combined them with their own innovations in ways the Zaxari had never considered. Just as the Grand Archon had feared, just as Eliza had hoped. 6 months to the day after her return, Eliza stood in the newly constructed Interstellar Communication Center in Geneva, watching as the first diplomatic transmission was prepared to the Zaxari Collective's homeworld. Vexlor stood beside her, their skin a calm, steady lavender, a color Eliza had come to recognize as contentment.
"Your species continues to surprise us,"
the alien said quietly.
"The Collective predicted decades of chaos following first contact. Instead, you've achieved in months what took other species centuries."
That's kind of our thing,
Eliza replied.
adapting, changing, moving forward.
"The Grand Archon wishes me to inform you that the Sol quarantine has been officially lifted. The announcement will be made to the galactic community soon."
And how's that news being received?
Vexlor's skin rippled with hints of blue, amusement.
The exact phrase from the Archon's announcement was, "The quarantine of Sol system can no longer be maintained. The humans are coming. May the universe survive their arrival. There is considerable concern."
Eliza laughed.
Oh, they'll be fine. Things will change, sure, but things will be all right. I'll make sure of it.
On the main screen, Earth's first official message to the stars was being finalized. It wasn't a plea for acceptance or a demonstration of human achievements. It wasn't a declaration of humanity's peaceful intentions or a catalog of Earth's resources. It was an invitation, an open hand extended to the galaxy, a simple message that embodied everything that made humans the unpredictable, adaptable, transformative species that had so fascinated and terrified the Zaxari for centuries. We're ready to learn. We're ready to teach. Let's build something new together. As Eliza watched the message being transmitted at faster-than-light speeds to civilizations that had watched humanity from afar for over a millennium, she smiled. The universe had been observing Earth, waiting in fear for humans to mature enough for contact. They were about to discover that humans had been doing their own maturing all along, not despite their isolation, but because of it. Forged in the crucible of Earth's harshest environments, tested by their own conflicts, driven by insatiable curiosity, humans had developed just the qualities the galaxy feared and needed the most.